There we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Leaders Lighthouse, where we've been discussing the self-confidence formula from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I'm very excited about this topic and where we've been going with it. This is now I think the 9th or 10th episode that we've done on this topic. And we're only on the 3rd step of 5 steps in the self-confidence formula. In other words, we're taking a deep dive into each of these steps so that we can understand what this self-confidence formula is and how we can use it in our lives. So I'm RJ Horner, beacon of life and leadership, joined by the rest of our team with
Curtis Leong, beacon of positivity,
and
Linda Tilson, beacon of empowerment.
And again, we are your beacon of leadership team, but we're coming to you from what we're calling Leaders Lighthouse. That's because we are the guides on this journey of life and leadership. So again, we're talking about the self-confidence formula, and we're only on step 3 of 5. I like that we're taking that deep dive. And today's topic is very exciting to me because we're talking about this formula in a way that we're creating the life we want by creating that goal, that definite chief aim. We're setting up the path that we are going to go, whether you've achieved it or not. It's really about building it. And so we've created this topic today called the reflection of your life. In other words, have you envisioned your life? Do you imagine what your life is going to look like? And based on the self-confidence formula, have you written it down? Have you written out your path forward? So with the reflection of your life, we're building the life that we create, that we envision. In another book I'm reading called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, they talk about looking into a lake, a pristine lake, and the reflection that you see is the reflection of the life that you are creating. Now, they say we are where we are because of what has gone on in our lives. In other words, wherever we are right now, we've brought ourselves there. Now, I also say, as a statement of my life, that I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I know what I'm doing to get there. That's not something I've created overnight. It's something I've created over time and taken the effort to put that into place. So I'm not where I want to be today, but I'm on that path. We've put this team together. We've created a beacon of leadership in the Leaders Lighthouse based on something that I've envisioned, something that I've imagined we were going to create. I created this vision on my own many years ago, started on different platforms and worked towards where we are today. And I'm very proud of where we are today with this team that we've built, with the mission that we're working on, and the vision that we are now creating together. So I've envisioned my life. Maybe I need to take a deeper dive based on what I've read in The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I need to put this into more detail. And then when you do so, is what I've read in that book, the path, things start to align. The opportunities you need and the details will start to show up in your life and start to work themselves out. So the reflection of your life is about creating that vision that you imagine for yourself, for your life. So again, I've been building because I imagine myself carrying on the message of, like I've told you, Bob Proctor, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, the people who have put all of that information into this head of mine. They're not going to be here. If they're not here now, those others are not going to be here very soon. Somebody needs to carry on this message of building a better life, self-mastery, self-discovery, and, building that life that you design for yourself. So that's what the reflection of life is all about. So who would like to add on to that topic or talk a little bit more about the reflection of your life?
I'll jump in. I
Thanks,
think that
Linda.
the reflection is really important. And, a lot of us start out and we have an idea, the higher vision for where we want to be and what we want to do. But it's through that reflection where you're doing things and you're visualizing things where you are discovering. So I like the fact that you talked about self-discovery and self-mastering. And I just think it's really interesting that I'm not where I thought I would be either, or where I wanted to be, but actually I'm where I'm supposed to be at the right time. Because prior to where I am now with the three of you, I had the experience of having a mentor, and we came up with my one word of beacon. And who thought that would be so pivotal in the work that we're in, where I'm getting a message here from my son. I will call him back. I'll call back. So yes, life happens, but so as we're going through life and we're having these experiences, and we don't always think. I'm going to have to pause for a moment, maybe a
Sure
family
thing.
emergency. I will be right
Okay.
back, and I will
problem,
share
Linda.
my thought. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Linda. So basically, self-reflection is what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, it's basically asking yourself questions and answering those questions internally. You're just trying to find answers either within yourself, or you can always Google everything or YouTube it. You never know. There's lots of information out there, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel by not knowing something, because all the answers are out there. It's just a matter of like, hey, what's the question? Like, why is my big toe blistered out? It's like, oh, well, let's look on medical MD or look on Google, and it'll give you the answer. So I think self-reflection is a personal thing. And if you're not sure about a question, you can always check it somewhere else or ask a friend. Because, we all have good friends out there, right? So if I asked you, hey, RJ, what do you think of me? You would say whatever you'd said, right? And then I was like, well, I don't really think of myself that way, because sometimes how we look at ourselves is different interpretation what other people look at ourselves, right? Much like our self-talk, like, we've talked about before, and our self-talk sometimes is very mean, but other people think, oh my God, Curtis, you're so nice, you're like the best guy ever. It's like, are you sure you're talking about me? Because I sometimes feel like I'm pretty a mean person, right? But that's how we talk to ourselves sometimes. So that's why I think self-reflection to me is.
Well, that's reflecting, and we are going to deep dive into that topic next week, actually, because that's about spending time with yourself. But what I'm talking about with the reflection of your life is, look, do what you love, right? Find that purpose of everybody's life, I believe, is to live a life of purpose. Find out what it is you love to do and go do it. But envision that so deeply that it is an automatic creation. Look, I imagine myself every day up on those stage, delivering that message, talking to people who need to hear that message, talking to hundreds, thousands, or one-on-one, right? Sharing that experience, that this is an opportunity for you to create the life you desire. And that's what that reflection is, right? Because you get back what you put into it, right? So again, we are here because of what we've imagined for ourselves so far. But what do you imagine for yourself in the future, 10, 20 years from now? What do you imagine that life is going to look like? Envision it now. Envision yourself living it now, and you will start to build. So let me go with the third principle of the self-confidence formula. Let me read that out for people, where I know the principle of auto-suggestion, which is what we've been talking, the things we tell ourselves. Through that principle, Any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes to demanding myself the development of self-confidence. So that 10 minutes we will talk about next week when we talk about to reflect on your life. But this week, I'm talking about that persistently holding in your mind that desire that you have for yourself, so that you're building upon that. You're constantly envisioning what your life is and where you're going to take it. That's how I know where I'm going, because I envision it, I imagine it every day, I reflect on it every day, and therefore I'm working towards that. So I know what I'm doing to get there. There's how I can make those statements, because I have spent some time in development of this process. But that comes from a lot of research. We're giving it to everybody, that entire process, in this one little segment here, right? Just persistently hold in your mind the desire that of the expression you'd like to seek.
Yep. So it's similar to your why almost.
It is.
Just like
That's
that.
exactly what it is.
Yep. Cool.
So tell me more about that. So maybe what is your why, Curtis? Where are you working towards, and how are you working to create it?
Which, my personal life or like my work life, or
we look. So in the book, The Monk Who Sold His First Story, that's on my mind these days, because I'm deep diving into
well, you're
that.
reading it, yeah.
So they talk about emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. So we have those elements to our lives. So it doesn't have to be one or the other or all. Tell us, what do you imagine for your life 10 years from now? And what are you doing to attain it?
Currently, 10 years from now, probably retired, most likely. I'd have my house paid off, be debt free, and basically be able to take vacations and stuff, because I think this business is going to light up. So therefore, I think we'll be able to run this business as independent from our lives, our regular work lives. That's what I see. Basically, material wise, everything I want my life will be paid cash for. I won't have to pay debt anymore. Like, I won't have to be a slave to debt or debit or anything like that sort of stuff. That's what I envision myself being. So financially independent, for those who like to follow those rules, right? And then emotionally, obviously being growth with my positivity, and be able to help others be more positive and help them grow in their lives too, right? Like, maybe my life experience will help others. Like, there's other people who might be a few steps behind me that want my guidance, and I'll be able to do that for them. Business wise, I think we're all on the same path right now to get to where we want to be. In 2023, I think we're going to hit our mark very, very well. We're right on target, right? So that's 100% there, because I think Linda has really given us a boost, and her knowledge is amazing. And I think this is going to really, for all three of us, be very, very good in the new year. Physically, I'll probably stay in shape as I always do, because way back when I was 13-year-old, I decided to be fit for life, and I carry that very religiously through my asthma attacks I've had over the years. So even though I have like a disability of asthma, I still pursue my fitness level always, and then hopefully maybe inspire other people to do the same. I don't know. As we get older, it's harder to do. People find other things to do, but I always dedicate at least 1 hour a day or two, depends on what I'm training for, as to what I'll get fit done. So, and I eat right, I take my vitamins and do all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think we should build our own stories so we can inspire others, because we all have stories, and I think just a matter of writing them down will help other people too, and then maybe help our vision of what we truly are as a person will help that as well, right? So that's kind of like a life purpose there. Like, hey, maybe we should write our own stories down, because sometimes what's in our head changes over time. Even though when you write it down, it's like, hey, I wrote this down. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, I did this, because I did a vision board before. I've done what is it called? We've done mission statements, a vision statement for our company. I've done some personal ones over the years. I try to renew it every year, but last year I didn't have a chance, so it's still the old one that I follow from 2020, basically. So That's where I'm at.
Awesome. So, and it sounds like you have a general idea, but I think you, as look, we all need it, but I think you need to spend more time writing down and working on this self-confidence formula so that you have a more detailed look. I'm glad to have you along on this journey of what we are building together, but integrated with that, and as well as aside from that, truly deep dive and imagine what your life is going to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. And then be creating that, be creating that now so that you will achieve that future, because you're truly every day you're imagining what this life is going to be for you. And because you said, and don't get me wrong, you've done a lot of work on yourself, and you're a great teacher, you're a great guide for people out there. You have, like you said, everybody has their own story. So you have a story to tell and a message to teach. But I think you need to do a more deep dive into what your future, so you can create that reflection of your life now.
Cool.
So, Linda, you were talking and you got interrupted by life. Life happens.
Yes,
we all
life
know
happens.
that. Yeah.
It certainly does. It wasn't an emergency, but
so please continue where you
good.
were. Start telling us about where you're going and what your reflection of life is looking like at this time.
Yeah, I've been listening to what you two have both been sharing, and my story is I've been in that self-discovery for a little while, but since I've been 12 years old, I've been an advocate. I wanted to become a teacher. Psychology of people interests me, and I found ways in my work life to integrate those skills. And because I've been in spaces and places where I've been supported, I've been able to do some self-mastery. And what I realized, and it just like hit me all at once, is I love and have a passion for leading teams. And it had never occurred to me that I am this thought leader, and it's allowing me to lead in my passion, which is to teach, which is to coach on those particular themes, because individuals make up teams. And so I never really wanted to do what they call as niche down, right? Because I wanted to be a servant leader. I wanted to support. It didn't really matter. I thought of picking something, but the moment I pick something, then I can say, I'm Professor Linda, I'm Coach Linda, I'm teaching people how to fall into a team and go through the 5 stages of the team dynamics. I'm sharing, as an individual, Curtis, you mentioned that's really important to you to be able to honor a life of fitness. I do the same thing. I can't do all of the things that I do without that piece. It's part of the mind, body, and soul. I all of my experiences to date I've always been at the right place at the right time. And I didn't even realize that everything was building, and I got that self-reflection. And so now that I have that realization of where I am and my passion of what I want to do, I'm doing all of the things to master. I am, doing little things every day, which is what RJ was talking about, that 10 minutes. I get up every morning and I set intentions about how I'm going to apply myself and show up so that I can be either that teacher or that coach that's feeding into, how do team dynamics work? And so I kind of have both sets of the house here, because sometimes I'm in the trenches and I'm a part of a team. Other time I get to be the leader or the coach that shows people how to move through teams and do it effectively and to get those results. And so, my reflection is I got the best of both worlds. I work on myself, I help others do the same. And now I've got a lane that I enjoy being in, because I fought the whole team dynamic and the fact that people would say, well, Linda, you don't need anybody to coach or to teach. You can do it all on your own. And the answer is yes, I can do it on my own, but I don't prefer to. I love being on a team. And it doesn't matter whether sometimes that I'm leading it or other times I'm being a part of it. I like to be both. I navigate the waters on both sides of it. And so really this topic, I'm passionate about it as well, because, we talk about, can you imagine it? Can you see yourself in it? Well, yes, I can, because I am in it, in the trenches, doing it now. And what I envision for myself in the future, it goes on to another level. That's a whole level of entrepreneurship, because teams are part of the entrepreneurship world. And so, that's like the bigger piece. And in retirement, I'm not planning on spending my whole life traveling the world and only doing things that are like non-work related. No, I want to be able to travel and be able to practice my entrepreneurship, my teachings. And so I want to have and live a living legacy. I'm not caring about what I'm going to leave behind. I'm a little bit different than most. I am a person that wants the living legacy, enjoy my fruits that I give out, while I'm here. When I'm gone, right?
Yep.
And so that's where I'm at on my journey. And so I'm just enjoying what we're doing here. Every week I'm learning and growing from our lessons. And so that's been most precious to me.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. First of all, thank you for coming and joining us. As you said, everything happens in its time, and everything is meant to happen and unfold as it's meant to. Look, Curtis and I have been working on this for quite a while and evolving it and creating it. And people can see that evolution happening. But I'll also say that if anybody is watching and anybody watches these, they can see just what you've brought to our team and the acceleration that we are having now that you've come aboard, because that team aspect and the function of a team is the one element we've been missing for a long time. And now we're starting to get detailed and progress with the goal in mind. We've always had the goal, we've had the vision. And, I picked this lighthouse before I even read this book of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I've picked this lighthouse and the theme of a beacon and the shining light long before I truly understood. And so I read the passage of the lighthouse as a symbol for these elements of life, these segments of life. And so they were talking about the symbol of the lighthouse. And it says, this will remind you of yet another ancient principle for enlightened living. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. Those who are truly enlightened know what they want out of life in the 4 areas, and they clearly define their priorities and goals for every aspect of life. And so that beacon is your marker for goal setting, right? It's a light to follow, knowing that you have, it offers refuge and guidance of a place to reach. So by having that shining light that's always calling you towards it, right? When the lighthouse circulates and the light comes back about, yes, it is a place. It's telling you to avoid the dangers. Yes, that's its mission. But we use it as it's a path to follow, right? Knowing that you're out there in the darkness, and this light that keeps coming around and showing you that I can come this way, and just passing to the right or passing to the left, I can have a safe journey. So that's the purpose of us creating the lighthouse as our teaching format, and the beacon, calling ourselves beacon, because we are leading. Each of us are leading people in a different direction, but a certain direction. Right? I'm teaching people how to live a better life and live the life of their dreams. Curtis is teaching people how to live a positive life and be happy and enjoy it. You're teaching people how to build that life according to their dreams, in the sense that you're teaching them how to act as a team and to have processes and be organized and be focused on, like you say, building out your entrepreneur journey. Because I truly believe if we want to have that freedom, we want to have the enjoyment of, being able to, like you say, have a living legacy where we enjoy our time and everything that comes along with it, but we're able to pay our bills and cover all those expenses, still go on vacations with our family and spend quality time. In order to have all of those things, I really truly believe it's because that's what I've been taught, is that you need to have an entrepreneur mindset. You need to be building a business of your own, whether that's self-employed, where you make your own time, your own hours, or creating, like we have here, a larger business where we're going to build out something that one day we won't have to be 100% focused on this in order to earn our income. In other words, this is going to provide us an income that we can franchise out, so to speak, or get other people to work for us, so that we're not the cogs in the machine. We're just the vision, the creative aspect of it, right? So and again,
I see building more leaders to join our team. And when I say team, I mean that loosely, as in a community of practitioners, entrepreneurs. We could be authors, we could be coaches, we could be all of these things. And that's what we will be building on, is building the community of support that allows these dreams and visions and freedom to flow. That's what we'll be doing.
That's good.
Yeah. And so that's exactly it. That's what I learned from John Maxwell. First of all, to develop the leader within, which is make me, build me, learn how to serve others so that I can be a better leader for others. But then any leader worth his salt is working to create somebody to replace them. In other words, there are managers out there, and there's the difference between a manager and a leader. A manager is working to protect his job and protect his income. So he's not teaching people how to take over for him. But any leader is thinking about their next evolution, and therefore they're thinking about the people they're going to bring in their place, who are going to help. Look, when I build up to run a business from this level, I'm still going to need people to run it from this level where I'm operating right now. And I may need more people because the organization is at a bigger, higher achievement space. So I need more people to take over for where I am now so that I can step up here, right? That's the sense of we are leaders building leaders. And any leader we are teaching. So we're bringing in those coaches, authors, speakers, entrepreneurs into our community so that we can teach them how to teach others, how to replace them. Right? We want to teach people who have marketing skills, who have sales skills, who have other, business mindset, leadership, team building, all of these aspects, even living a positive life. All of these aspects need to be taught by somebody. And so therefore, we're creating a space. An institution of fellowship is like what I call Beacon of Leadership. It's an institution of fellowship where we're bringing in those fellow thought leaders to create a space where they can learn and teach those who want to serve other people in this industry.
And the analogy I like to use all the time now is we're teaching people how to fish. We don't want people coming in and not being able to do that, because, the moment you do things for others for them, then they're not getting that learning opportunity. So teaching them to fish in all of these different areas of focus, the three of us together, we can't begin to fill in all of the areas. And so that's why the community support is there and needed. And, as the community is growing, we're growing too. It's not something that we get to a certain point and we're done. We keep on going. And
And so on that note, we've been working on something. It's still in its evolution, but we've been talking about the Beacon Awards, where really that is, we are looking to designate those members who are serving out there, who are good representations of fellow beacons. And as such, we will be inducting them into our fellowship, into our community. So we will talk more about that in the coming weeks as we figure it out ourselves. But it's something we're very excited about, because we're going to build out this community. Because look, I have lots of ideas and concepts to teach people in the area of building out your life and creating your leadership platform. You have lots to teach people in the area of team building and building that business and working to create, right? And then Curtis, you have a lot to teach people in the area of positivity, happiness, mindset, and other things like that. So we're only teaching people so much that they have to learn. As much as we are working on a course that is going to walk people through this thought leadership journey, how to create a business around their mission, we still need other people to teach people other aspects. Look, Curtis and I would be nowhere without our business teacher, Midon Bigankar,
Yep.
who we hope we're going to induct him into this community. I'm positive we're going to induct him into this community.
Yep.
We just haven't taken the steps to bridge that gap yet. But again, there's just one person to teach people business and sales, right? And marketing. So these are other aspects of the industry. Another person we've had in this community and has been focused on our events is Jim Hetherington, who's taught people the importance of relationships, not just intimate relationships with your partner, but building relationships, which, let's face it, if we want to be a business person, we want to focus on helping people and serving people, we need good quality relationships, and we need to know how to nurture those. So these are different aspects that I always say, when you become a member of the Beacon of Leadership, not only do you have access to us, the three, Beacon founders, but you get access to all of our community, all the members of our community. Because when you become a member of the community, we ask not only that you come as a student, come humble, come with the intention of learning, but you're also a teacher. You have a message. As Curtis said today, every one of us has a story. Every one of us has something to teach. I've always imagined myself as a teacher, but I will say, you know how we have it, our society has the habit of bringing people down, and it starts at an early childhood age. Whereas when I started telling people I wanted to be a teacher, I was mocked. I started to be called a nerd and a geek, and so it was something that went from my mind. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a teacher if this is what people are going to think of me. But it's always been my destiny. It's always been the path I was meant to walk. John Wooden says, "Call yourself a teacher." And when I read those words, it changed my life and it changed my evolution, because I always knew I was supposed to be a teacher. I just didn't know how to look. I'm not fit, nor am I educated enough to be a teacher in a classroom or a professor. I don't have a degree. That didn't mean I couldn't teach or I didn't have things that I could teach people. So that is my focus. That's where I'm moving. That's the life I'm building. That's the life that I am reflecting right now of the future that I am creating. Any other thoughts? We've had a deep discussion, but I'd like to know people's. So let's have final thoughts on this topic of the reflection of your life, which that reflection is the image you are creating. Let's have each other's final thoughts.
I'll jump in.
Thank you.
And so the creation piece is huge, I believe, is because life isn't done to you. You create everything that you want, knowing what your purpose and your vision are. And when you think about it that way, the rest of the discovery and the self-mastery, it comes right through and it does it effortlessly. That's how you know that you're on that right path.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I will, Curtis, I can see you still thinking. So
Yeah,
I will chime in and just say that I think we call those things to us, right? I knew I was supposed to be a teacher. I didn't know how, I didn't know what path I was to serve. But because I imagined that, because I focused on that, it came to me over time. Don't get me wrong. Like it says, that the thoughts, the desire I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression. In other words, don't expect it to happen tomorrow, right? But keeping this foremost in your mind, it will begin to unfold in a period of time, whether that's 1 year or whether that's 10 years. This expression that you are seeking will begin to unfold. So Curtis, what have you learned from today? Put it that way. What is your
Okay.
takeaway from today?
Takeaway is reflection is whatever you want it to be, and then sometimes when someone else tells you about it, it changes it. So my reflection was about positivity. You pointed out a couple things like, oh, hey, I never thought about that. So then it changes maybe the way you conceive or the concept of what you're thinking, and it maybe pushes you forward a little bit, because sometimes what we think today is small, and someone mentions something, it's like, oh, hey, I can go bigger. So that's my reflection on that one.
So, and then let's refer that back to the lake, or the reflection of the lake.
Yep.
Where, you know what, if you look into a clear, pristine water, you have a clear vision,
Yep.
right? But let's say it's a rough sea day, you know what I mean? That means we're going to have ripples. And so the waves are going to experience, which means your vision is not going to be clear, and it can change depending on the angle that you're looking at it
Yep.
from. So absolutely, don't expect that just because you envision something today, that's how it has to remain 5 years from now.
Yep.
Right? That it could change tomorrow. And look, I will always say another thing is, I just ordered a whole bunch more because my notebooks are getting full. But I always carry a notebook around with me, so that when I have that reflection, when I have that thought that revolves around this vision that I'm creating, I jot it down and focus on that a little bit more, so that it brings about something else that will add on to this creation, right? So guys, thank you so much. This has been a great discussion.
Awesome.
I'm loving where this is going. So we've talked today about the reflection of your life. In other words, what are you creating, and how can you go about creating it? And then next week, we're going to talk about how to reflect on your life. So if we talk about the third principle, where the end of it is, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. That's about taking time to reflect.
Yep.
So we will deep dive into that a little bit next week. So guys, please join us. Please, come out. This has been a deep conversation and a deep dive into the self-confidence formula. And if you think about it, you can start to see how it evolves and really helps to build self-confidence, helps to ensure that that you are meant to do this, or your life is unfolding as it is supposed to be. So thank you for joining us again on this journey in the Leaders Lighthouse. Again, I am RJ Horner, beacon of life and leadership, joined by
Curtis Leon, beacon of positivity. And don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube.
Absolutely. And
I am Linda Tilson, beacon of team empowerment.
Thank you. And I'm glad you refocused that, because yes, you are a team empowerer. So thank you guys. This has been great. This has been another episode of Leaders Lighthouse. And until next time, RJ Horner saying better days ahead.